The episode opens with Spartacus unconscious on what seems to be a wooden slab. In his unconscious state, he dreams of Sura, his wife, in an intimate moment where she promises to always remain with him. This tender vision shatters when blood suddenly pours from her mouth, jolting Spartacus awake into the harsh reality of the Ludus. The medicus cuts Spartacus's hair on Batiatus's orders, stripping away his Thracian identity, the first step in breaking him. The episode meticulously unveils the complex social structure within the Ludus, revealing a microcosm of Roman society. At the top of the Ludus stands Batiatus, the ambitious yet financially troubled owner, alongside his equally ambitious wife, Lucretia. Together they navigate the precarious world of gladiatorial business, while harboring dreams of social advancement. Below them, the Ludus Familia operates under a strict hierarchy. At its core is Doctore, the formidable head trainer, whose whip enforces absolute obedience. The medicus tends to the wounds of those who endure the brutal life of the arena. Then there is Asher, a former gladiator crippled by injury, who now arranges bets and acts as a cunning intermediary between the fighters and the world beyond the Ludus. Among the gladiators, a structured order of dominance exists with Crixus, the undefeated champion, commanding respect, followed by veterans like Barca and Gnaeus, who enforce the cruel pecking order. Newcomers like Varro, a free man driven by debt to sell his freedom, and Cursor must endure brutal initiation to earn their place. Beyond the Ludus walls, Roman nobility like Legatus Claudius Glaber and his wife Ilithia represent the highest echelon of society, their favor potentially determining the fate of everyone beneath them. Batiatus's dire financial straits is evident in his tense meeting with Ovidius, a merchant pressing for overdue payment on grain. Cornered yet unwilling to admit his inability to pay, Batiatus grudgingly accepts Ovidius's harsh terms, an additional 30% added to his debt. This moment lays bare the fragile foundation beneath his grand ambitions, a reality mirrored within the Ludus. Once a symbol of power and prestige, the training grounds now show signs of neglect, dried up baths, devoid of water, a stark reflection of its owner's dwindling fortunes. Yet ambition burns brightly in both Batiatus and Lucretia, who see potential salvation in cultivating favor with Glaber. His patronage would provide not only financial relief, but also the social elevation they desperately crave in Roman society. Ilithia, Glaber's wife, presents another opportunity when she accompanies her husband to the Ludus. As a true embodiment of Roman nobility, her presence among the lower ranks of the Ludus sharply contrasts with the social divisions of the time. Her complaints about common dishes and requests for finer wine, luxuries Lucretia cannot provide, reveal the vast gulf between true aristocracy and those who aspire to rise above their station. Despite the awkward moments, a bond starts to form between the women. On the balcony, Ilithia shows both disgust and fascination with the gladiators, calling them animals. Her question about what would happen if they all went mad at once reveals her sheltered ignorance and a hidden rebellious side. The episode unflinchingly portrays the brutal training regimen that forges men into gladiators. Under Doctore's merciless command, recruits march through the night carrying heavy logs across their shoulders. Those who falter feel the lash, as Doctore's command to keep pace echoes across the training ground. This physical conditioning goes beyond building strength. It instills a philosophy unique to gladiators. Through Crixus, recruits learn to respect the arena and accept death as a part of their lives. There, the Doctore educates them that they stand on sacred ground, watered with blood and tears, their blood, their tears. This lesson shapes their minds, teaching them to face death with pride. The veteran's cruelty further reinforces this harsh education. When Barca deliberately knocks over a pot of porridge, forcing recruits to eat food mixed with sand, it serves as both dominance display and test of resilience, separating those who will survive from those who will break. On the first day, the recruits meet the veteran gladiators and their dominus. Doctore introduces Spartacus and mentions his victory against 4 gladiators. However, he quickly dismisses it, saying the fighters were poorly trained by Batiatus's rival, Salonius. Spartacus's expression shows disagreement, so Doctore challenges him to prove himself by fighting Crixus, the champion of Capua. Spartacus, unwilling to back down, faces Crixus. Despite his soldier background, his lack of skill becomes obvious. Fighting with raw emotion instead of technique, he grows frustrated and recklessly throws his sword at Crixus. Crixus easily blocks the attack, and the sword ends up striking another recruit. This encounter establishes the foundation for a fierce rivalry between the rebellious Thracian and the undefeated Gaul, while dramatically illustrating the deadly consequences of undisciplined emotion in gladiatorial combat. The emotional heart of the episode lies in the confrontation between Spartacus and Glaber. Rejecting Batiatus' hospitality, Glaber demands a private meeting with Spartacus in a cell. There, he methodically lists his grievances: the Thracians' leadership of a desertion, and his embarrassing refusal to die as ordered in the arena. Then comes the revelation. Glaber produces the purple binding once tied to Sura's thigh, informing Spartacus that after his men had their way with her, she was sold to a Syrian for half a coin. This calculated cruelty achieves its aim as Spartacus collapses to his knees, desperately reaching for the binding that Glaber contemptuously tosses to the floor. Glaber departs satisfied, believing he has finally broken the defiant Thracian. In the aftermath of Glaber's visit, Batiatus demonstrates his opportunistic cunning. Recognizing Spartacus's love for Sura as both weakness and potential leverage, he offers a path to freedom and reunion. If Spartacus proves himself in the arena and rises through the ranks, he can earn his freedom. As tangible evidence of this promise, Batiatus presents Spartacus with the purple binding he had secured from Glaber. This moment marks Spartacus's pivotal transformation. Presented with an impossible choice, continue resisting and face endless suffering, or strategically accept his circumstances to pursue a greater goal, he chooses the latter. His acceptance of the name Spartacus represents not surrender, but calculated adaptation, the first step toward his ultimate objective. The episode climaxes with the recruit's final test: combat on an elevated platform 6 feet above the ground. The deadly stakes are made clear when Marcus, foolishly charging without landing a single blow, is struck down and falls to his death at the hands of Barca. Varro fights bravely to a draw against Gnaeus, securing his place in the Brotherhood. When Spartacus faces Crixus, he initially hesitates, distracted by thoughts of Sura, but as the fight heats up, his resolve strengthens. In a key moment, just as Crixus prepares to strike, he looks to Batiatus for permission. This brief distraction gives Spartacus the chance to use Sura's purple binding to throw Crixus off balance, causing him to fall. With his sword raised to deliver the final blow, Spartacus is stopped by Batiatus, who declares him the victor. In this moment, Spartacus addresses Batiatus as Dominus for the first time, not in defeat, but as a calculated acceptance of his role in service to his greater purpose, finding Sura. The episode concludes with a solemn ceremony where Spartacus, Varro, and Cursor receive the brand of the Ludus. Spartacus recites the Sacramentum Gladiatorum, swearing loyalty to the Brotherhood and to Batiatus, pledging to endure whatever horrors await in the arena. As the hot iron brands his flesh, Batiatus welcomes him to the Brotherhood, sealing Spartacus' transformation from defiant Thracian to purposeful gladiator. Throughout the episode, the purple binding emerges as a powerful symbol. It represents Spartacus' love for Sura, his connection to his free past, and his ultimate motivation. By the episode's end, Spartacus reclaims this token not just as a memento of his wife, but as a physical reminder of his purpose. My final thoughts on the episode. Sacramentum Gladiatorum brilliantly portrays Spartacus' transformation, showing it not as a defeat but as a strategic adaptation. By accepting his new identity and the gladiator oath, Spartacus embarks on a journey defined not by subjugation, but by calculated endurance for a greater purpose. This complex portrayal of adaptation versus surrender adds profound depth to his character, establishing the psychological foundation for his future evolution from reluctant gladiator to revolutionary leader.